We'll never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to run. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
Well, welcome guys. Miss Liz is back. That's right. And I have another returning guest, and you know how I love having my returning guests because I get to dig a little deeper into them. Tonight I have Jennifer Shaw in the house. Her pen name is JM Shaw, so you can check that out as well. We're going to talk about pen names, and we're going to talk about a new tea and all of that good stuff in her new book, Forsaken Souls. So we're going to spill some really good, strong cup of tea tonight. And her tea tonight is, let me get it, because we were in the back just getting this all together. Parable examples, I'm not saying that word right, life lessons, embracing who I am. That's the tea we're serving tonight in the house with Jennifer. So before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, Spotify, podcast, apps, all of that good stuff, Facebook, and give you a little quick follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, and share these tea times out with your loved ones, neighborhood, networks, all that good stuff. So let's get started with disclaimer and then a nice, beautiful intro, and then we're going to get Jennifer in here and we're going to spill some tea, Miss Liz style. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicated to sharing real-life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experiences and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own judgment when considering any action or decisions that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including, but not limited to, trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of this discussion, you are welcome to contact me directly at my email, bookingmissliz@gmail.com, or check out my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. Miss Liz welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect those wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Now let me give you a little bit on who is sitting in the back. Tonight I'm honored to welcome back a returning guest, JM Shaw. JM is a storyteller who brings light to the often overlooked journey of neurodiversity, strength, and hope. Through her writing and creative voice, she offers readers an authentic look into resilience, reminding us that every story matters, especially those that challenge us to see the world differently. She blends truth with imagination, courage with compassion, and continues to inspire others through the personal journey and the characters she creates. Her work invites us to reflect, to grow, and to find meaning in the places where life and stories interact. So without further delay, let me welcome Jennifer Shaw into the house, and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you.
It is an honor to see you again, and the giggles in the back and all of the encouragement in the back. So thank you for that before we went live. Jennifer, I'm going to take you back for first-time listeners that are tuning in tonight and may not have heard your first tea time with me. Who was Jennifer as a little girl, and who is Jennifer now?
oh goodness, I was a big time dreamer. I was very introverted. I was very much a people watcher. Yeah, I was struggling to understand the world around me, and I needed an outlet, and I started writing, and it became that avenue for me to explore the world that I didn't understand. And today I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm still writing. I'm feeling more powerful in my writing nowadays.
Well, that's good. So let's get into your story a little bit. I'm going to bring up your book and we're going to pop it up maybe once or twice during the show, or we're going to see what we do tonight, right? With tea time. But I'm going to get your book out there because you have a new book called Out Forsaken Souls. And then we're going to dive into diversity and neurodiversity and all of that other stuff after the book. But let's get your book out there first. So I'm going to pop it up so you can share a little bit about the cover, all of that good stuff about it. There we go.
So I had a lot of input into the cover. That was fun. I knew what I wanted my cover to look like, where you're looking into this cavern and this background image that you see is this kind of almost gothic city underneath the ground, and everything's dark and mysterious. I didn't know what the title was going to be. I struggled with that. I like to have titles for my books that are dual meaning. And so this one had to be something to do with the story as well as what's going on with my character.
So can you tell a little bit about what the cover looks like for the audio listeners?
Yeah, so this character standing in the mouth of a cave, a dark cave, looking into this cavern, and we see a gothic city with lots of spires underneath, and there's a dark ambience, almost like a mist. It's very magical scene.
So Jennifer, can you tell me, is the storyline gothic?
It's not so much that the storyline is gothic. It's the fourth book in my series, so things are a little darker here, just because as we go through the series, the stakes are higher, and my character who survived the third book, my protagonist, is a bit traumatized by the events of the third book, so he's having to learn how to deal with those and open up about them and face his fears.
So you were on Tea Time for the Fractured Veil, correct?
Yes.
Do you want to share a little bit about that book?
So the Fractured Veil was really fun in that my character is, so to explain the series, I'll explain the series so you can get an idea. So there's our world, our time, coexisting magical realm, veil that separates us. We can't see or cross this veil. We don't have magic, but these creatures that do can and have. And they've been the source of our fairy tales and mythologies. And then Callum Walker is my protagonist. He's a young man born with the ability to use magic. He doesn't know why. He's trying to make the most of it. He's able to cross that veil, and he becomes embroiled in this magical realm, what's going on there. And he's learning about this world and meeting all these beings, and adventures ensue. And we follow him through the series as he's trying to figure out who he is, where he belongs, because he's too magic for here, too human for there, and then master these abilities to survive. And then, so I introduced him in this world in the first book. And then the second book was a lot of him trying to accept and step into the role that he didn't want to be in. The third book is following an event that happened at the end of the second book that fractured the veil, so to speak, like literally. And then, but he's also dealing with some post-traumatic stress as well. And he's got it in his head that he's at fault and he needs to fix this veil. So he's on this journey to try to fix this veil. He ends up meeting this other character named Jax, and I had a lot of fun because I have 4 brothers, so I use a lot of that bantering between them and stuff. So he's learning about friendship. He's, they're kind of just developing this friendship, realizing that, Jax is out there trying to protect the veil and sees Callum as a threat, and Callum's trying to fix the veil. So they're on the same mission and stuff. But Jax is kind of, he's a bit of a, bang in there first, ask questions later kind of guy. And Callum, as we know, is very conservative, very thoughtful, very meticulous, planning things. And so they butt heads a lot and stuff. But going into the fourth book, Callum and Jax have become friends, and they're journeying together to see if they can fix the veil. And on their journey, as they continue, they end up crossing into enemy territory, so to speak, and they become prisoners of war, and they're forced to work in these mines, This Daguerreans have captured them, and they're forced to work in these mines that are in their subterranean city. So they're cities underground. And these are sort of a group of elves that have kind of gone their own way. And there's a history there, and they're looking for revenge against the Northern Kingdom and the elves that Callum knows there.
So Jennifer, did you use these 4 books as your brother's kind of way of telling a story?
No. I just use their banter, like, because, you know, I hear them talk and the way they tease each other and stuff. And I had so much fun with that. You know? So Jax is very much like this teasing, like he's constantly nagging at Callum, like, loosen up, you know, he's joking with him, he's sarcastic. Callum's not so much, but Callum starts to come out of his shell a little bit. And he also, you know, he's traumatized by the things that happened in the 3rd book that nearly killed him. And so he's trying to deal with the trauma of that. And he has to accept that, you know, he has to open up to somebody that he trusts. And he also falls in love in the 4th book as well. So, that said, I don't do spicy romance. I don't have bedrooms.
Oh.
Young adult. So.
You know, we have other authors that come on Tea Time that do the spicy romance, right?
And you know, they're to each their own. There's enough of that out there to satisfy that audience, that genre of audience. And I'm more about the fantasy adventures and, you know, I like the character development. I like seeing things through my character's eyes and seeing my character develop and the psychology of that.
So let's talk about the characters. How do you get the characters? Because Callum kind of sounds like a baby brother that, you know, kind of break the shell. Like all the big brothers are all like, come on, you know.
Super serious younger brother, like, don't do that. You know?
Yeah, like, you know, the big brother, right? Like, don't fall in love. It's a trick.
Jax, my character Jax, who's continuing on as a secondary main character, he's kind of like, oh, what's the fun in that? Let's just go do it, you know. But he mellows out too as he goes. He matures as well. And oddly enough, I think there's like 11 years between them. So Callum in the 4th book is 23-ish. I think he turns 23 in the 3rd book, so he's 23. But Jax is 35, so he's a lot older than him, but he acts more immature. And Callum is younger and he acts more mature. But, you know, I'm working these 2 characters together, and Callum's coming a little bit out of his shell, and Jax is becoming a little bit more reserved and more thoughtful, especially when we find out that Jax is in a family way eventually.
So do you have brothers like that?
I do, yes. I have 4 brothers. They're a lot like Jax.
Have they read your books and said, hey, that's me?
No, they haven't read my books. I had to twist my husband's arm to get him to read my books.
Oh, we got to twist those arms sometimes just to get them involved, right? Read the story.
If I was an artist, like if I painted or sculpted, you just have to look at it and you would be able to see my art. My art as a written art just takes a little longer to appreciate, but it's still an art.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I really like the covers. I like the colors of it, the flow of it. Like, it's nice. Yes. And I do see the purple on it, and that's your favorite color is purple. So
it is.
So tell us why purple.
I don't know. It's like the color of royalty, kind of. It's just this dark, especially the dark purples, like the plum purples and stuff. And I used to like pink when I was a kid, and my mom took it to the extreme, and I had pink carpet, pink curtains, pink bedspread, pink walls, pink ceiling, pink door. And so
they traumatized you with pink.
I'm writing another book and I have that in there. It's like grotesquely pink bedroom that are, you know, I have my character's mother has inputted her stylistic color choices into this character's bedroom. So I was like, that's definitely from me.
So you're using your mom as the next character?
No, I'm just using that aspect.
Well, I want to get into autism and ADHD and neurodiversity, and that I want to get that conversation out there. We had some questions that came in, and one of the questions is, your family shares diagnosis of autism and ADHD is such a unique story. How did the journey inspire your writing?
I had to have it pointed out to me, not even, I couldn't see this in myself, but my character's arc journey, the series journey, is my journey trying to find my place, where I belong, feeling like I'm different, but I don't want to be different. I would love, sometimes, some days I'd love to just be able to, not have to count the numbers on license plates, or, turn the lights off if I'm overwhelmed. But at the same time, it's me, and it's who I am, and it allows me to see who I am. So my character's journey of learning their place in this world is my journey, and his acceptance of who he is my journey as well.
Wow. So you use your journey through the books.
Yes, I didn't intend to, but that's this. I had a reader point that out to me. It's like, oh, it's kind of like your journey with autism in the world. And I was like, oh yeah, I never thought,
over the head, right?
Yeah. Now that I see it, I realize that a lot of my writing has been influenced by my either my misunderstandings or my anxieties about the world, or just, my thoughts and observations about life.
So that goes into the next question, is how has embracing neurodiversity changed the way you see yourself and your creative process?
I would never have become a published author if it wasn't for my diagnosis, because I've been writing for over 35 years, but I had never shared anything. I was always like, oh, it's not good. Or, like my mom would say, oh, I probably can't write myself out of a paper bag. It wasn't very, inducive to confidence, so I never shared anything. I was too embarrassed. I thought people were going to psychoanalyze me. It was 2019 when I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And it was after my sons, it was after their diagnosis. And once I was diagnosed, I started looking back on my life, and I started thinking, you know what? I bet writing is my special interest because I've been doing it for so long. And so it gave me the courage to say, I had just finished my first book in my series. I'm going to send this to an editor. I won't know unless I try. I'm going to send it to an editor. The worst they can say is it sucks. And if they do, then I know, and I'll just write for myself. But they came back and they said, this doesn't suck. You should publish. So 2 years later, I did. But from outside of writing, my autism has given me, I take permission now. I accept permission now to ask for clarification, and to realize that my brain may work differently, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with me. It's just those things that people would learn naturally. I have to teach myself. I have to actively learn.
I remember this in our first conversation. We were talking about late diagnosis, right? And as an adult, compared to being diagnosed as a child, all those childhood years, you're like, oh, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I'm different. I'm weird. I'm just, and then you get diagnosed, and you're like, oh, that explains A, B, and C, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of things, like looking back, there was a lot of very typical presentation stuff, but there was a lot of things that I think that's why a lot of girls on the spectrum are getting diagnosed late, is because we internalize a lot of it. We hide, we watch other people, and we mimic. We're masking a lot of it. And masking means we're just hiding it. We're trying to blend in and stuff. And I don't know if it's, I think women's brains, maybe it might be the way our brains are, or maybe just the societal expectations of women to act a certain way and can conform. It maybe it hid a lot of the symptoms of it, but they were all there.
Wow. And you just brought up something really important, right? Women, late diagnosis. Like, maybe we need to start looking into that. Like, why are women being like you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that autism and ADHD is being diagnosed more with boys than it is girls?
Absolutely. Especially the ADHD. Oh, I had one of my doctors told me that more, it's more common to be diagnosed with ADHD than it is autism, even though they're very similar in a lot of regards.
So what's the similarity?
Well, they're both hyperactive.
Okay.
They're both seeking like stim behaviors. Like sometimes people will do this. I do this a lot, or I turn my ring, or I take my ring off and on, or I count license plates. That's kind of behavior. Difficulties in regulating your focus. Also, social communication is also another issue, like talking to kids and that back and forth conversation that you need to have.
So we have a question here. How has your own life experience shaped the way you approach conversations about neurodiversity?
I'm not keeping it a secret. It's who I am. I have had some experiences where people, once I tell people, okay, this is why I do things, or this is what happens, or, like for example, the blue LED Christmas lights,
Okay.
walking down the street, those are my nails on a chalkboard. And I don't know what it is. I think it's the afterglow or something, but it physically like creepy crawly sensation. It's just not comfortable. And that's something that maybe it doesn't, it's like other people might not understand. I'm trying to explain it, teach it, like this is what I go through, and this is so that they can understand. But I have had a lot of people ask me, it's like, well, I do this. Does that mean I might be on the spectrum? I'm like, I'm not a doctor. It's like, maybe talk to your doctor about that. But I did this. So,
Yeah.
well,
a lot of people do that, right? As soon as they start seeing similarities, they're like, oh, maybe I have it. Maybe I have it. The self-diagnosis is causing a lot of people not getting diagnosed because there's too many people that are coming in with the false diagnosis, right?
Yeah, exactly. And well, there's a lot of people that I'm hearing, and it's almost, it's sad because people are like, well, we are all a little on the spectrum, right? It's like, okay, but if it's disrupting your life, then it's, that's something else, I had a example that I used for my kid. It's like, you're driving a bicycle down the road and somebody's driving a car. It's like, well, we're all drivers. We're driving completely different vehicles, and we're going to have completely different struggles.
You mentioned something about the blue lights, and a listener here is saying that an Autism Day, April 2nd, they light up blue lights.
Yeah, if they're and it's not the same problem for everybody. Everybody else's nails on a chalkboard is different. I call it. That's my nails on the chalkboard. For my youngest, it was the vacuum cleaner, the noises that the vacuum cleaner, or those hand dryers in the bathroom. And he would actually bring his shoulders up and plug his ears as he's drying his hands. It was very cute to see, but for him, it's more sounds that bother him. So everybody's different,
Well, the chalk on a blackboard is a sound that you don't want to have to hear. Like,
Yes.
like if anybody knows what the sound of a chalkboard is, scratch, like it's like a horror movie, right? It's like, it's traumatizing. It gets on the nerve.
Yeah.
I'm really that your blue light thing, because I've heard other people say that about the blue light. And I'm wondering why they picked the blue light for Autism Day when you're not the first one to mention the blue light.
I don't know. And it's not just any blue light. It's the LED ones. And it's, for whatever reason, that fluorescent-y kind of, it's the afterglow. It's not the lights themselves. I have no problems with blue lights. It's the afterglow. Like when you look at it and then, you turn and you got that kind of like, where it's streaky almost color. It's wrong. It's wrong in so many ways. I can't even explain it. I have had a lot of people, though, once I came out with my diagnosis, say, oh, what's it like to be autistic? And I was like, I don't know. What's it like to not be autistic? You tell me that, because then I can tell you, like, it's all I know, And so I can't really explain, like, I can tell you some of the things that bother me, but to actually tell you what it's like to be autistic, it's not something that's easy to explain.
Yeah. Unless you live it, you won't understand it. And I say that about everything, right? Don't ask somebody if you haven't lived it. Don't try to pretend that you understand it, or tell them how to diagnose themselves or how to heal themselves, or unless you're living that person's life, like you have no business saying that this is what you should do, or take this vitamin, or take that supplement, or you don't know. Maybe that supplement might be the pill that takes you out. Like, you don't know.
You never know, right? Or maybe it's something completely different. Your toe hurts. Maybe it's not broken. Maybe you have gout. I don't know. Maybe it's something completely unrelated to what you think it is.
So we have a question here about, as a parent, how do you help your children embrace and celebrate their own neurodiversity?
I've tried to explain it to my children using the computer analogy, where our brains are like a computer. And normally people can do maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 things or files are open. With the autistic brain, every single possible program is open. You open your browser, you've got a million tabs, any possible number you can have. You got music playing here, video playing here. You're trying to find a file. You can't shut anything down. And then all of a sudden you get the swirly wheel of death and you have to restart. So you can multitask like nobody's business. You don't miss anything, even if you don't realize you're seeing and hearing and feeling it all. But it can be very overwhelming, and we need to learn to restart our computers every now and then.
right? So we need a reboot. Like we need to turn off and restart. Like even the computers tell us to restart themselves. Like, you know, we're human beings.
Yes.
Uh, we have a couple questions here. I'm just trying to find them because I want to get the neurodiversity out there, and then I want to get into the other stuff. How do you hope your work challenge stereotypes and misconceptions about neurodiverse individuals?
I've tried really hard not to see my autism as a disability. There are benefits in my mind to, because I can see things from different perspectives. I'm a very what if thinker, and it can turn into, you know, good creativity, obviously. But I've tried to explain that to when I explained it to my kids, it's like a superpower, you know, but with great superpowers comes bad things too, you know. It's gotta take the good with the bad, and that's it. But I mean, from a viewpoint, now mine would have been qualified as Asperger's, as you know, before they took that title off. Now mine's considered mild autism, and then you add the ADHD aspect to it, and then recently dyslexia has entered my life as well. So you find ways to get around it, and you have to deal with it. And I don't think anybody should be judged for it. Like I said, it doesn't mean that I can't learn how to talk and communicate with people. It's just that I have to teach myself because it doesn't come naturally. And I remember, and maybe you recall the story, but I didn't know how to talk to people in school when I was growing up. Sorry, my dog is pawing me. And so I made myself notebooks. So I would be like, okay, so-and-so said this, and then this was the answer. Oh, there was a smile. So when somebody says this, I need to say this. And I developed for myself a script. So I taught myself how to talk to other people. Now, when people said something that wasn't in my script, it became a little awkward. But yeah, it's not to say that there haven't been struggles. You know, I can't tell sarcasm. I can't get jokes a lot of times. Just different things like that. I can't tell if somebody's being, you know, like I can't read innuendos. I can't read you know, between the lines, so to speak. So, and I analyze every conversation I've had because I'm trying to figure out if people are like what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and analyzing them. And I think it's just helped my writing too. So, but yeah, it's a struggle, but it's not impossible. You know, it's just a little extra struggles.
I think in the first time you were on Tea Time, you mentioned it like a hamster in a wheel, right?
Yes.
Where it just keeps going and going and going and going, and your brain just doesn't get a break.
Yes. You know, if I didn't write, I would never sleep because I don't know, my husband can shut his brain off at night, and he's like, oh, I just turn my brain off and I go to sleep. I was like, you don't hear the voices, you don't have the scenarios, you don't see videos going off in your head. Like I close my eyes and it's like watching a movie reel, and you know, and I have to have a book by my bed to write down some ideas that come to me and stuff, because I'm like, oh, that's a good one, I want to use that one. But yeah, no, my brain never shuts off. There's a commentary going all the time.
Well, and it gets tiring, right? Because you want to stop it, you want to close it down, and you know, but you can't. Because I remember that when we had our first conversation, you mentioned that about the hamster and the wheel, and it just kept going and going and going, and you said, like, you know what, I just get tired sometimes, like I just want to stop.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be really hard, I think, for the average person that they don't, you know, going through life having somebody whisper, you know, and in your ear all the time. And that's kind of what I equate it to. It's like, you know, ideas and thoughts and feelings. And sometimes I can't identify my feelings. I'll be upset about something. It'll take me 2 weeks to figure out why, or to even identify whether I'm sad or angry, you know, and it's just because there's so much noise. I can't filter it all or any of it.
We have a question that just came in. When is most of your noise going on? Daytime or nighttime?
It's pretty constant, but if I had to say, might be slightly more at night. Although that said, when there's a lot of things going on, like my kids are home and they're being very noisy, then the noise in my head also tends to increase. And my husband will come home and I'll have a code word. I was like, I'm broken. That means take your children. I need to leave.
Time out. Tea time.
Decompression time. Yeah.
Right. And we all need that code word as a mom.
Yes.
Just as
Yeah.
a mom in general, we just need that code word. Like, they just walking in, we're just like, hot chocolate or
Yeah. Yeah.
bubble bath, like something like that. We have a question here that came in. What does Forsaken Souls mean to you personally? We're jumping back into the book, and I'm
Yeah.
going to pull up the book again for people that are just tuning in now. What does Forsaken Souls mean to you personally?
It means that you've been forgotten, or you haven't, people don't see you anymore. So you've been lost. I know that's how my character kind of feels. A bit overwhelmed, a bit lost, a bit forgotten. But at the same time, what's going on is this conflict that's building. It's not over wealth or territory or power. These Daguerreans that have captured them are literally harvesting the souls of their enemies.
And what do you want the readers to take away from Forsaken Souls?
That it's important, if you're struggling with something, you have people out there, you need to face your fears, or they're just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you explode. And we saw that with my character, that he was losing control at times because he was trying to bury all of his emotions and traumas. And then once he opened up, he was able, yes, it was hard. He was able to face it. Doesn't mean that it was going to go away immediately. He's still struggling, but it helps.
So, and you have all of the above who bring together stories of resilience. What's one story that continues to resonate deeply with you? Is that one of your other books?
No, this is my series.
Oh.
There is a book that's simmering in the back of my brain, and it kind of relates to how I felt growing up, where I didn't belong. I felt like an alien dropped off on this planet, and I haven't put it into writing yet, but it's simmering in the back of my brain. And it's literally this young girl who's, struggling through life, and she has, no parent, like her mom is dead. She's in the foster care system, or she's struggling out there on her own, trying to find her, trying to just survive life, and ends up finding her father.
Oh, so
feeling like she's been forgotten, and then somebody that's important finds her, somebody important to her finds her.
So is that part of the Colin Walker series, or is that a separate book?
No, that's something that is a story that's been simmering in my brain, and I will write it down. It's just that I got so many other things going on, but that's the story that that's the heart story, I say, my heart story.
I was kind of, because all of the above was also mentioned in CC's interview this afternoon. So I'm wondering if there's like a connection. The two of you's got something going on for all of the above.
I never actually met her. I would not be opposed to meeting any other authors, because we tend to hide in our rooms with our coffee and our warm blankets and our computers and possibly our pets now and then. But yeah, we don't get out a lot, so it's a very lonely world. But I'd love to meet other authors. They're exchange ideas and pick each other's brains. How many times can you say sit up? Is there another way to say it?
I just find that the two of yous are on today, and both of all of the above. So yeah, it's universe again.
Yeah.
We got that. So how do you balance the emotional intensity of your stories with the moments of hope and light?
I know my stories, there's dark things, but these are real things. These are real emotions that we can feel in an everyday life. So I think my readers connect to them. But there's also moments of happiness throughout, like, finding friends, finding family, finding love, finding out where you belong and accepting who you are. So I try to balance those throughout my stories. Yes, there's dark, because life is dark, but there's also good, because life has moments of good too.
And Jennifer, do you do martial arts?
Yes, I used to.
Because we have a question here on ours. It's like, what? It's just like salsa dancing this afternoon. I'm just like, what? So it says, how do your backgrounds in healthcare, psychology, and martial arts influence your storytelling?
The martial arts, because fight scenes, man, I love those.
They're in the book too, right?
a lot of the injuries that occur in my books and are injuries that I've seen in person, maybe not so much the cause of those injuries, but certainly seen the effects of them and how much pain and worry they can cause, the emotional anxiety of them. Just getting an understanding, like having that understanding of the human emotions and the physical as well. I mainly did the martial arts because I have 4 brothers. I had to keep them in line, you know?
I love it.
Remember me.
Are you the baby? Are you the oldest?
I'm not. I am the oldest and I am the only girl.
Oh,
I thought
that
my sole purpose in life was to babysit, and I made my brothers pay.
martial arts came into play.
I was really hoping for a daughter, but I have 2 sons and I love them to death. I would not trade them for the world. I'm actually quite happy that I have sons because at least I know what I'm getting into. I don't think I could handle another me.
Little mini Jennifer, come on, you could.
So,
The next question I have for you is, what advice would you give to others neurodiverse creatives who want to share their stories but feel hesitant?
I was hesitant for many, many years, and I wish I had shared sooner because it was my special interest. It was me. It's that fear of being judged that you need to, but in all honesty, if you go and read a book and you like this book, regardless of what it's in there, even if it's a spicy romance or something that, like maybe there's some cringe stuff in there, or the characters swear a lot, or they're blood and guts and gore or something, you're not thinking, oh, there's something wrong with that author. You're thinking, this is a good book. That's what you're thinking. So people aren't going to judge you by your stories. They're going to enjoy your stories. And then you get to see other people enjoying your stories. But you won't know unless you share this creativity with the world. I mean, in my case, it was writing, but some people out there, maybe they're good painters or drawings or different creativities like singing, instruments, sculpting. There's all sorts of creativity or outlets for creativity. And unless you share it, you'll never know what other people think. And sharing with your family does not count.
Oh, come on.
Friends and families, they can't be biased, but anonymously, if you wanted to try that, you can share something anonymously and just see, hey, world, how does this sound? And it might take a while before somebody actually sees it or gets back to you, but that can give you an idea. For me with the writing, I went to an editor because that felt like the first step I should take. And it was good. So for those writers, maybe an editor would be the place to start. For the other creative arts, I'm not sure where to start. So I would love to help that regard, but yeah, just share. You won't know unless you share.
Well, it kind of goes into the next question. What role does writing play in your personal healing and self-discovery, Jennifer?
Well, when I started writing, it was because I needed that outlet to sort out my misunderstandings with the world. I was also being bullied, so I live vicariously a lot through my characters to see how how they would deal with the things I'm going through, and an adventure setting. Of course, it wasn't me, but it helped. It was an outlet. It was it was like journaling. When people tell you to journal and stuff. Well, for me, writing was my journaling, and then it became a hobby. And then a passion and bordering on obsession. And now it is my therapy. It's my self-care. It's my escape to, instead of just seeing things in my head, now I get to share them with other people.
Right? And you get to see the little hamster in there on how busy it is and running around.
See the hamster too.
Right?
Yeah.
The next one I want to get out to you is, I just seen it. In a world that often pushes conformity, is that a word? Conformity? I think so. What do you believe is the greatest gift of being different?
I think
conformity.
Yeah, I think it would be a very boring world if we were all the same. And, if we didn't have differing ideas and opinions and thoughts and we might still be living in caves. I mean, we need out of box thinkers, and we need different minds to see problems from different angles. I think it's important to have those differences, and we should embrace them.
I agree. Life would get boring if we're all the same, right? It's kind of like what we said this afternoon with tea time. It's kind of amazing on how your tea time with Cece and yours is joining together tonight, that you guys have a lot of similarities in your stories, even though your books are different and your genres are different.
Well,
It's truly
I know
amazing.
that there's only so many tropes, and there's no original tropes anymore. They've all been done. It's just everybody does them a different way. You know,
Yeah.
this whole like secret universe, portal, realms, those kind of things, been done many, many times by many, many different people, but everybody does it a different way, or they focus on something different. Some people focus more on the history of it. Some people focus more on the technical aspects of it. I like to focus on character growth and being having real characters facing, you know, these things, and how would they react, kind of thing. So it's everybody, you know, it's like if you boil it down to, there's only so many tropes and they're all been done before. So, you know, it's just, yeah.
And what impact do you hope your writing will have on families, schools, and communities who are navigating neurodiversity?
I do tend to weave in wholesome messages about life and learning and acceptance, and the importance of family and friends. So I'm hoping that people take away that, as well as the adventure. You know, I mean, like I've woven it in there, so it's not just like, you know, a glaring sign like, "Hey, here's a wholesome message." Psh, you know, so it's more. This is this adventure that's happening, and there's a quote from my second book that I really like. It's we're talking about the light, the you know, convergence of light and darkness, because the book's called The Convergence. And on the light, you got the life and the good, and you know, that kind of stuff. And then the darkness is obviously evil and death and all those things. And there was a quote in there as we're struggling through this, you know, like the light and the dark are getting closer together. And there was a quote that I had out there. It's like, the darkness may scream its presence, but the light will whisper its arrival. And it kind of connects back to life, in that we can't enjoy the good things if we don't know that there are, you know, if we don't feel the absence of them. But at the same time, I also put that in there because my impression, if you watch the news, you see a lot of bad things and you see very little bit of good things. So it's a life lesson that I wove in there in the middle of this adventure. And I try to do that a lot, actually. I like to do
Well,
that.
and you kind of just went into your tea, because your tea is life lessons. So, like, you know, we got into the life lessons. We got into your tea a little bit. Like, you know, in the beginning of the show, we got the bottom of the tea, then we get the middle of the tea. Now we got to go to the top of the tea. And the top of the tea, what did you give me? Parable examples. So
Teaching
what?
examples. Yeah, I've been a storyteller my entire life, and when I'm trying to teach somebody or tell somebody or get my message across, like I teach through story. Like when I'm trying to, or teach through parables, like what parables are just basically little stories or little examples that are relatable to you. Like when I'm trying to explain to my kids about how autism is like a computer, you know, like those kind of things. Or, you know, driving down a road and one, you know, the highway, you know, one person has a car, the other person has a bike. They're both driving, they're both traveling, they're both technically drivers, but they're going to have different struggles. You know, so I like to teach with those examples, those visual examples that you're going to be able to relate to your life and understand a lot better.
I like that, you know, because using examples is another way of showing storytelling as well, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
almost like the different genres of books. It's telling in different avenues, in different ways, and different paths. And you're going left, you're going right, you're going straight, you're going up, you're going down. You know, it's teaching people in different ways, and there's nothing wrong with that. There, you know, everyone learns differently. We have some fun questions now that are going to come to you. So, one word that defines the journey you're on right now.
Oh, relentless. It's
Oh,
relentlessly long, but I also have to be, you know, persevere through it. I can't give up because, you know, if I keep going, I'll eventually reach the finish line in my mind. But if I stop, I'm never going to get there. So I have to be relentless.
and one word for your that describes your storytelling, Jennifer.
Oh, emotional. I do put a
Oh,
lot of emotions into my stories. Um, I know I wrote when I was editing my first book a long time ago, the original edit, and before the second and third edit. There was a scene in there. I had to write a couple extra chapters and stuff, but I wrote a chapter in there, and my editor sent to me back. He's like, "Oh, this is a really good, heart-wrenching chapter. You've made your editor teary-eyed." And I was like, "Oh, good. Well, wait till you get to the 6th book. I'm literally bawling my eyes out as I'm writing these chapters, some of them." So,
You better have your Kleenex box, right?
I put a lot of emotion in there, and I try to make it a real emotions. Like, I may not be facing dragons in my daily life, but I can understand how that would feel if I'm facing big obstacles, and those emotions are the same.
Yeah. I think emotions are good, right? We need to get them out there. We need to get those Kleenex boxes used up besides blowing our noses, right?
We need to clean the sinuses out every now and then.
Yeah, right? What's the favorite time of day to write for you, Jennifer?
Oh, I used to like in the evenings, but now that my kids are in school, I tend to do a lot more of my writing when they're in school. Yeah.
Oh, so during the day.
Yeah, because in the evenings, it's especially like around that bedtime, they're in and out of bed, got to get a drink of water, got to go to the bathroom, I want a hug and stuff like that. So there's no sit down and write time, but when they're at school and my husband's at work, I'm at home and it's quiet, that's the best time to do it.
And coffee, tea, or something stronger for focus?
Anything with caffeine, really.
Oh, caffeine. Favorite drink?
Yes, I call it mommy juice.
Oh, there we go. Mommy juice. Oh, we all need mommy juice.
Yes.
The book that impacted you the most as a writer?
Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh,
yeah.
Never heard of that one.
That I cried while I was reading it, and very few books. The Anna Green Gables books also, I cried through them and stuff, where you feel that connection. And I love that they can create that connection with the characters. Like I love books that do that. You feel what they're feeling.
And one phrase you live by during challenging days?
By this time next year, things will be different.
Oh, I like that. We all hope that next year is better, right?
Well, I mean, I had a variation of that, basically it relates to anything. Like, for example, when I was potty training my children, it's like, by the time they get to college, they'll be peeing on their own, or whatever, right? You'll be out of diapers by the time they're in school, but it was just relevant to what was going on in my life, like the struggles. By this time next year, things will be different. It'll be a new problem to deal with, but this one will be done with.
I like the potty training in college.
By the time they get to if they're not, then have to,
Then there's new training coming in, martial arts.
Yes, yeah. I help with potty training, but maybe insecurities.
So Jennifer, what do you love about martial arts?
You know what? I went into martial arts during a period of time when I had very low self-esteem. I was very introverted. I was getting bullied a lot in school. We moved to another town. I didn't have a lot of friends, didn't know a lot of people, and it gave me confidence. Like I can do this. Not so much that I would use it ever, although I did have to use it once, but that, it gave me something to be proud of, and strive toward, because it's very linear. You got your belts, and I think if I remember correctly, it was because it was Shorin-ryu karate, and it was white, yellow, orange, green, blue, brown, black, and then there was 10 degrees of blacks. But it gave you a very linear thing to follow, and you could gauge your progress by the belts that you had.
10 degrees of black? So there's 10 different levels of black?
Yes.
Oh, do you want to tell me a little bit about that? Some of my listeners want to know too.
I never made it to the black belt. I almost got there. I was like the brown belt level. So, but there's this test, and there's just more things that you learn, and then years of practice and stuff, and you become more proficient at it. It's not that you're learning a huge amount of extra stuff. It's just that you're getting better at the stuff that you're learning.
Oh, well, look at that. We learned something about martial arts now again, and the belts. See, we just never know what we talk about on Tea Time over here. Yeah. So we have a question here about Tea Time. When you return to Tea Time, you always bring a powerful update. What's one of the new message or themes you're most passionate about sharing today?
Writing is a marathon, not a race, or any creative endeavor. And, you know, I mean, if you're expecting it to be immediate success, you're gonna be disappointed. How many people out there say, I write books, but then of those millions of people that say that, because there is millions of people that say it, they write books. How many actually finish a book? And then of those people that finish a book, how many go off to edit it? And then of those people who actually finish a book and get it edited, how many actually publish? And even if you're not on the bestsellers list, you're still a very small percentage. You need to look at those achievements and gauge it by where you've gotten to, not this impossible mountain of a goal that you're trying to reach. It's baby steps. It's a marathon, one step at a time, and it can take years to get there. But if you keep going, you'll eventually reach a finish line, wherever that may be. It may not be what you're expecting, but you'll eventually reach it. If you stop, you will never reach it.
And that's really important, you know, because like you said, Jennifer, how many people start a book? How many people finish the book? How many people go to the edit?
Yeah.
You know, I hear a lot of excuses. I want to write a book, Miss Liz. Just do it.
Yeah.
Like, try, you know, and it doesn't have to be like a bestseller, like you said. You know, how many people actually finish that race of just getting a book done?
Yeah. I know sometimes I come up with ideas and I don't necessarily have a story to put them in or a book that I'm working on, but I'm like, oh, I have the scene in my head. So I write a document of scenes, you know, like the car chase scene or the climbing the mountain scene or something. And I will use them later, but you know, I come up with these ideas, and instead of starting a new novel and giving up on what I'm doing now, I write the scene down, you know, because it may be used later, or I might find a place to use it in the book that I'm working on.
So what roles does hope play in the process of healing and self-discovery when characters or for yourself, like when you're writing your books?
Hope.
Hope.
I'm hoping that I'm writing something good. Keeps me going, you know, hoping that people will enjoy it. And then when I get confirmation that people do enjoy it, then it you know, feeds back into that hope that, oh, maybe if they enjoyed it, maybe somebody else will enjoy it. It keeps me going. You know, it's spinning that hamster wheel, so to speak. You know, I'm just
Jennifer, how did you feel when you finished your first book?
When I finished it, I was exhausted. When I published it, I was over the moon. I couldn't believe that I had done this. How could I, you know, like I remember thinking years back when I was like 16 or something, I would love to be a published author, but I didn't think it would ever happen. And then I made it happen. I felt like, what else can I do? You know, if I could do this and I didn't think it would happen, what else can I do?
So do you have any more books coming in this series, or are you starting a new series that we should know about?
I'm working on the 5th book in this series, but I'm also working on a standalone future dystopian Robin Hood meets Romeo and Juliet with hints of Hunger Games, but you'll have to follow me to find out more.
Jennifer, go and watch CC's Tea Time, because I'm telling you, it's like I'm having a deja vu here. Like I have two different women, but you guys, your stories. Hunger Game was in her conversation.
Yep.
And she's in the historian genre. Like, I mean, like you two need to connect. Like something needs to happen here.
You could be like an author matchmaker, eh?
Right. It's just like it's like, no, I had Cece, now I have Jennifer, but I have them all in one. Like it's almost like a good box of candy that I got today. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't wait so long before you get brave. You know, just do it. Just, you know, I wish I had gotten brave and ignored, you know, all my fears and my doubts and just, you know, sent off a manuscript to an editor a long time sooner. You know, I'd probably be a lot farther along this marathon than I am now, but you know, I'm not unhappy that I did it now. I think I was in the right frame of mind, but I wish I'd done it earlier. And
what book do you have on your bedstand?
On my bedside?
Yeah.
I'm currently reading a book, I can't remember his last name, but it's called The Devils. And it's not, you know, it's recommended to me by another reader who came to one of my book signings, but I also just finished reading The Children of Time before that. So I'm kind of wish-wash between, you know, sci-fi and fantasy, but the only genres I don't write or read in are history. I fall asleep. mystery. I can never figure out who done it unless there's a lot of action, then it's fine. And I don't write spicy romance. Elements of romance, and I'll read some if there's a good story, you know, and there's lots of other things going on and stuff, and maybe there's just a couple chapters or something of, you know, like a bedroom scene or throne scene, depending on what you want to read, you know. And I'm a fan of that series, which I won't name. You know, so it's all over the place. I've got 3 bookcases now that I have to fill.
Well, there you go. You talked about book signing. I want to get that out there because we have never talked about that on Tea Time. How does it feel to do a book signing?
When I first started, it was terrifying because I'm like, oh my gosh, people, you know. But now, you know, I'm just like, I'm thinking the word marketing came up a few times in my brain and thinking about it. And I'm like, I don't know what that word means. And it's scary. It's a very scary word, marketing. So I switched it around and I use a different word now. It's showing the world you exist. And
I like that.
That's what I think about when I'm doing in the book signings is I'm showing the world I exist. I mean, how, if you could have the greatest book ever written, and I'm not saying that mine are, but if nobody knows it's there, nobody's ever going to read it. So how do you do that? How do you tell the world you exist? So I also have, as I've been doing more of these, I've found that, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about their passion, right? But I love connecting with my readers and having them come back and say, hey, the 4th book's out. Can I get you to sign this one? Or people come in with their books that they bought elsewhere and they're like, I want you to sign these. And I really liked your series. And it touches my heart. It's author fuel, you know, writer's fuel. And
have you ever had a reader come in and say, oh, can you make Callum do this, or, you know, or not do that, or, you know, like change the storyline, make him fall in love a little faster? Like, you know, have you ever had anybody come up and tell you that?
No, I haven't. I had somebody ask me if Frey, one of the fairy characters that shows up a few times in my series, if she was left-handed. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know. But I have had people ask what's next on his journey, not so much to change his journey or influence his journey, but what's next? And I'm like, well, there's a lot of things going to happen. I've got the 5th book I'm working on. I've plotted for the 6th. I know where the series is going to end. I just don't know how many it's going to take to get there. I'm aiming for 6 to 9, but I keep coming up with ideas. So I'm going to have to stop at some point coming up with ideas.
I wonder why they asked why that person would be left-handed.
I don't know. They asked if the city in my first book where we start out in, he says, is that Winnipeg? And I was like, I have no idea. I've never been to Winnipeg. It's just some random city. I had to give a setting, you know, creating the setting, and it's some generic city.
Oh, wow. Right.
Yeah, oh, I'm actually happy that they connected it to something that they were familiar with. So that was really cool.
Well, that's cool. Like when they read your book, right? And they're like, oh, I wonder if they're left-handed or right-handed. I wonder if they're from Winnipeg. You know?
Yeah, they're reading, they're connecting.
They're connecting to the story.
Well, if there's 2 characters, there's my protagonist, Callum, and then there's a character that shows up in my first book, Jabella. And they were asking, I have had people ask if they're romantic, if something romantic is going to happen between them. And I was like, I'm not telling you.
So Jennifer, do you have any book signings coming up?
Not this weekend coming, but I have book signing coming up next weekend or the weekend after. And then the weekend after that and stuff. I have an events page on my website that'll tell you where I'm going to be for book signings. They're mostly in Alberta because that's the province that I live in, but I'm hoping to branch out into more of Western Canada and then beyond as well as time goes. So, yeah.
So for the audio listeners and the people that are watching the video, could you just shout out your website and where they can get the books and all that stuff?
Yeah, so my website is www.jmshawauthor.com, and you can read about my books. They're all listed there. There's links to find them online. I also have links to my Instagram, my Facebook. I have a Goodreads link as well if you wanted to read the reviews on my book and stuff. And then the events page is also on my website.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, thank you for joining me tonight. And I'm just going to give a closing summary, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we're going to do this all over again next week with 2 more guests on Tuesday and on Thursday. So tonight, what a heartfelt tea time with Jennifer Shaw. Her presence reminds us that storytelling is not just about words on a page, but about lived experiences. perspectives, and the hope we offer one another. Today's conversation highlighted the importance of embracing neurodiversity, honoring personal truths, and celebrating strengths in all forms. As we close, may we carry forward Jennifer's reminder that resilience is born from authenticity and that stories are our own and those we share can heal and unite us. Thank you, Jennifer, for returning to Tea Time's table, and thank you all for joining us today. Until we meet again, may your cup be filled with understanding, kindness, and hope. And I'll see you guys all next week, same time, same place, and we'll do it all over again.
Thanks.